जय 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 प्रिय भारत जनयित्री दिव्यधात्री। जय 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 प्रिय भारत जनयित्री दिव्यधात्री। जय 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 शत सहस्र नर नारी हृदय नेत्री। जय 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 शत सहस्र नर नारी हृदय नेत्री। जय 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 प्रिय भारत जनयित्री दिव्यधात्री।
Good morning and namaste to all the viewers of Sreebharat channel. Jai Bharat, Jai Bharat. Recently I was fortunate to watch the movie, rather very purposefully planned and watched the movie Kashmir Files. Very happy watching this movie. When I say happy, it is not about exactly the storyline, but about watching a movie in the theater almost after 3 years and the beautiful and tremendous narration of the events that happened in Kashmir in a cinematic way by the director. There are many movies earlier in the backdrop of Kashmir, but they either showed the Himalayan range and the beauty or some aspects of the terrorism. But this one, as I said earlier, is based on the real events, and that is where the uniqueness and significance of this movie comes. But the creation of such a movie of the real events is really very tricky job. On the one side, if you compile all the events and show them with a narration, it becomes like a documentary. Otherwise, if you are dramatizing too much, it will fall in the line of the previous movies that came on Kashmir. So, the director Agnihotri is to be well commended and appreciated for his efforts. I was told he has done this, took up this like a research for almost 8 to 10 years, 1 decade, and collected all the factual information. And the beauty is not just information, the way it is conveyed, making the audience glued to their seats for 2 years. Nowadays, with so much of expectations and variety in the commercial movies, it is not easy to make the audience sit for 2 hours. We witness many times the audience going out whenever the songs start, or some audience going out whenever the fighting scenes start. But this movie makes a pin drop silence in the theater and glues the audience to their seats. So the movie goes in a blend of past and present, utilizing the flashback and a seamless combination of the past events with the current happenings. So, coming to the storyline, actually I don't want to call it even as a story. It is very thin line of one Kashmiri student studying in ANU, which we know is a cinematic name for a famous or infamous university where the Free Kashmir and anti-India campaigns and propaganda happens. So he goes back, he is almost in the grip of these anti-India proponents, but he goes back to Kashmir, and what he finds out and what he tells after coming back is the storyline. But as I said, the story is not the important thing here. The way it is portrayed, and at the university, one of the professors also is a proponent of the anti-India story and brainwashes all the students. Though it is famously known as the Kashmiri Pandits Exodus, basically it is an exodus of all the minorities in Kashmir Valley. Among them, the Pandits were majority. It is also heard that these Kashmiri Pandits, with their intellectual levels, were occupying the plum posts and getting all the important jobs. That is one of the reasons for some sections to drive them away from the valley. So the militants, unfortunately, our own brethren, diverted and brainwashed by the wrong elements, take grudge against these Kashmiri Pandits and other minorities and carry out their activities to see that they are running away from the valley. So the government also could not do that much at that time. They have set up some kind of shelters, and still some of the Kashmiri Pandits are in their shelters run by the government, but many have gone to different states and spread across India. But after watching this movie, what we see is it inculcates a sense of thinking, and it ignites the minds to think that we, the Indians, have not really bothered much about the troubles of our brethren in Kashmir. And also the other segment is also our unfortunately brainwashed and brainstormed brethren only. But we leave the hall with a sense of thinking. Many people expect lot of terrorist activities, bloodshed and violence in these kind of movies. But luckily, and thanks to the director, he doesn't get into the visual portrayal of the violence or the bloodshed. He acts at the psychological and intellectual level and tries to implant a kind of thinking in the audience. That is where he is very successful, and I can say that we all come out with the satisfaction of knowing the facts. Most of us either don't know the facts or know half the truth, or some very few people may know the facts that happened in Kashmir, because that is depending on the social media or the newspapers or the TV channels that we have watched at that time, or the sources of the people or information that we get. What happens is, the Kashmir problem is seen by different people, different segments, in different colors, naturally based on their information, their background and the source of their information, and most importantly the people or the informers who have informed them about the events. So this is, as I said, a research work encapsulated into a beautiful movie, like a thesis of a research portrayed on the screen for the benefit of the audience, like serving in a silver platter. So that is where the audience get all the information which otherwise needs a lot of effort and energy to know. Also, even if somebody wants to know, what happens is we don't really know where the real information or the factual information is there, and we don't try to generally put so much of energy or effort into such events in the current busy schedules. So that is the beauty. Then coming to the actors, one whom I can very worthily mention is Anupam Kher, who portrays the role spanning about 2 to 3 decades in his lifespan, and right from a Shiva avatar in one of the dramas to a person who is penchant about the removal or abrogation of Article 370. He is a single man, single crusader, asking and demanding for the removal of Article 370 after witnessing the events in the valley. Whenever there is any gathering or any political or politician or a ministerial visit, he goes on and displays, remove Article 370, remove Article 370. That he takes it like a passion. And very ironically and unfortunately, again coming to the current time, by the time the recent government removes the Article 370, he is affected by dementia and he could not realize or relish the happiness of abrogation of Article 370. So what happens? He wakes up now and then puts up his card. Please remove Article 370, remove Article 370. This is really a very touching scene of the movie. Another unique aspect of this movie, as I said, is it doesn't portray so much of bloodshed, so all the families can go and watch the movie with children, particularly with children, because they have to know the facts, because they are the citizen and heroes of tomorrow. The movie not only captures the genocide and massacre of the Kashmiri minorities, but also conveys through the speech of the student the greatness and the intellectual concentration of the great heroes of Eastern India in Kashmir, which is an epitome of the Indian greatness and an abode of intellectuals, including the Adi Shankaracharya, who has installed a Shankara Peetham there in Kashmir. So the movie conveys the facts on one side and conveys the intellectual aspects built in Kashmir and the importance of the Kashmiris and the importance of Kashmir for India in a beautiful narration. Though it may sound repetitive, I would like to once again say that the beauty is not in the story. Again, it is the beauty is the narration and the way the director captures. And at the same time, he doesn't rise the BP of the audience, or he doesn't inculcate a sense of vengeance or hatredness among the audience against the other segments. He portrays in such a way that our own brethren are troubled in Kashmir by our own brethren of another segment who are misled and mishandled and misused by the notorious enemies. So, I once again recommend all the families to watch this movie in theaters. Particularly theaters I am mentioning because we should say no to the piracy and encourage the director and the whole cinema unit who has taken so much of effort, and not like any other efforts like any other movie. They are all common, but here they have taken and the brunt of so many segments and so many elements, asking them to stop the movie, and after that they faced some difficulties in the censorship and they had to convince them, agree for some portions to be removed, and they have faced difficulties and life threats to stop the screening or releasing of the movie also. So they have withstood all these forces, and with a courage they have completed the movie and displayed and released. Thankfully, the movie, I heard that, has crossed the break even and they have got almost a commercial success. But one point is, this kind of movies are not made with a commercial success in mind. They are made with a purpose and vision and to convey a message. That is very well fruitful in this movie. But thankfully, the commercial success also is seen so that they can venture into more events and more movies of this kind or more projects to really raise the thinking process among us, the Indians. As I said, the events are a kind of chain of the real events which happened, but not caring about the after effects of display of those events. The director has shown that these events are to be known to the audience in a genuine way, in a factual manner. So he has portrayed them in a cinematic way from a lens of facts. What else? To sum up, this is a movie to know the facts, and I recommend once again all the people to watch this movie and support the cause of such events and projects to be taken up by energetic and any pragmatic people in the cinema world. Nevertheless, this movie is to be encouraged. But personally, I have one observation or feeling that they could have interchanged the last scene where the genocide or the massacre happens and the student's speech, so that the movie can end with the student's speech, which is a continuous process, because even today the problem is not solved. The discussions, the counter views, the arguments for and against the freedom of Kashmir or the integration into India, they keep happening. Thanks to the recent abrogation of Article 370, many people have come to know the realities and the uniformity brought in by the abrogation of 370. Kudos to the team who have really made such a venture. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat. Namaste.